Hi guys, welcome back to With Love Leisha. Today I have a cute beginner project for you guys. It's this eyeglasses or sunglasses case. I use it for my eyeglasses and it works really well to keep them from getting scratched in my bag. I crocheted this using the half double crochet stitch and that was last week's tutorial, so if you haven't had a chance to check that out, definitely go ahead and watch the video. You will need to know how to do the half double crochet stitch for this video, so for this project. So I will link that in the top right for you, and you can go ahead and learn that. And you also need to know how to do a starting chain. I will link that for you as well. I don't want to spend too much time on the stitches in this video because the pattern is going to take us some time. So I'd like to kind of get you guys going on that and focus on that. All right, let's get started. For this project, you need yarn. I'm using Caron 1 pound kindness yarn. It's a level 4 yarn. Any level 4 weighted yarn will be just fine. Yarn weights are at the back of the packaging right there. You also need a crochet hook. I'm using an H, and this is where you find the appropriate hook size for your yarn. You also need a yarn needle or a darning needle. This is what they look like. I have a cute kit that I got from Amazon. I will link that in the description box for you. It has yarning needles, or yarn needles rather, darning needles, scissors. You need scissors. These are yarn scissors. Any scissors will do. My kit came with these as well, and then a bunch of really useful hook sizes. So I really love my set, and I'll link that for you. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So first thing you need to do is lay your yarn over your hook with the tail facing away. Pull the tail over the longer piece, your tension piece of yarn. Yarn over and pull through the loop and then tighten. You're creating a slip knot by doing that. Now we're going to chain 22. I think 22 chains is a good starting point. You will need to chain and then measure around whatever you are going to be putting into the pouch to make sure that it will fit. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So go ahead and chain 22, yarn over and pull through the loop. That's how you do a chain. So I think I have my 22 chains here. I'm just going to count them, and you can pause the video and catch up with me. You don't need to go as fast as I am. So I do have 22, and the way you count your chains is these loops at the top. Each loop is one chain. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I do have 22. Now, once you have the amount of chains that you need, or you think you need, you're going to take whatever you want to put in there and measure around the widest part of it. So I want to put my glasses in here, and I just want to make sure that they'll fit, and they will. So this chain is going to be the opening of your pouch. So we're working up like that. Okay, now once you have your chain, you're going to keep your front of your chain facing you. That's the smooth side, and the bumps you want facing away from you. That's the back of your chain. Keep your tension out of the way on the left, and bring the first chain that you crocheted up and insert your hook into it from the front of the chain. Did you see what I did there? So I'm bringing my chain up without twisting my chain. I'm bringing the first chain up, and I'm not going in through the back where the bump is. I'm going into the very first chain from the front. And I'm going to bring these two loops together, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through both loops on my hook, slip stitching them together. So that creates a round for us to work into. Then we're going to chain 2. And now we're going to figure out where we place our stitches. Our chain 2 is our first stitch. We want to have 22 stitches. So our next one would go in here. So before we do the work of putting in all our half double crochets, we want to figure out where we're placing them, where our first stitch is and where our last stitch is. So this is 1, this would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So our last stitch is going to be here, not here. And the reason is that your chain 2 needs a stitch to live in. So it's going to live in this stitch here. So now go ahead and yarn over and insert into that first chain next to this chain 2. We're not going into the one right under it, we're going into the one next to it. You have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to go ahead and yarn over, pull up a loop. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. Once again, yarn over, insert into the next chain. You get 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook again, yarn over and pull through all 3. Go ahead and put 1 half double crochet in each chain going all the way around. And once again, you can pause and do that and meet me on the other side, or you can just stick with me if you'd like to watch how my hands work. And you do want to make sure that you're not going into the same chain twice and you are moving directly into the next one. You're not skipping chains. As a beginner, I think this was the hardest part, is figuring out where to place my stitches and making sure that I understand what is a chain and not skipping any. Sometimes when we pull our chains too tight and they get really small, it's difficult to see them. So we yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that's a half double crochet. So I have now placed my last stitch into the chain it was supposed to go in. And now we're going to look for the top of this stitch, our first half double crochet. It's the top of your stitches are these V's. We want to go into the top of this stitch. It's between our chain 2 and this post. So we're going to insert our hook into that stitch and get these V's over our hook. We also want to make sure that we do have the bottom of the stitch. So I don't know if you can see very well, but there's this bar that's sitting underneath my hook. You want to make sure you do have that bar underneath your hook. Yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. We slip stitched our first, our chain 2 and our last stitch together, creating this cuff. And now we're going to continue working into this cuff. So now chain 2 once again. And now this is really important. We're going to turn our work. So this is where we left off. We slip stitched, we chained 2. These stitches are facing us. We're going to turn our work and now we're going to flip. So make sure that you do that correctly. You chain 2, turn your work. So now the inside of the cuff is facing you. Flip so that the outside is facing you. So now the backs of the stitches that we just did are facing us. And the reason we do this is because that's how we're going to get this design here of this alternating of these posts and then these sort of V's. I don't know if you can see that very well. These V's, these little feather-like, arrow-like design in between the posts. It might be a little hard to see, but I hope you guys are able to catch that. So this is what we're aiming for. Okay, so now once you've chained 2, turned, and flipped, we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to figure out where we place our stitches first before we do the work. So we're going to go into this stitch, this first V that you see next to your chain 2. This, and that is here. So make sure that you're not skipping any stitches. We want to go into that very first stitch, so yarn over and go into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And you're just going to do that all the way around. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. So you can pause at this point, or you can just stick with me. And this was why I liked this project, and I like the half double crochet for this project, because it goes pretty quickly. It's sort of a mix between the single crochet and the double crochet. You don't have any extra steps like the double crochet, but you do yarn over. So it goes fairly quickly, and I liked this project for beginners because it's not too long. Like the number of chains that the number of stitches you're putting into every round is fairly reasonable. It gives you a chance to practice your stitches, but it's not super lengthy. It's totally doable. Okay, so I'm coming up on my last few stitches here. And you want to go ahead and count your stitches. So this stitch, this last one, we're not going to go in there because our chain 2 lives in that stitch. Our chain 2 needs a place to live. Our chain 2 lives in that stitch. So leave that alone. Make sure though that you do have the correct number. So our chain 2 is 1, and then we went into the next one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. So now we're going to do what we did before, and we're going to slip stitch. So we want the top of this stitch here, which is between the chain 2 and this post. So this is where we're going. Insert and get that top, the V over your hook, yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. Now, if you see that you're having large gaps between these 3 stitches here, your chain 2 and your first half double crochet, you can definitely skip this stitch if that works for you, and then put the half double crochet in this last stitch that we left alone. So you can definitely choose to put your last one in there and give the first one to your chain 2. As long as you end up with 22 stitches or however many stitches you're supposed to end up with, you can do what you need to do to make it look aesthetically pleasing and not have any large gaps. Okay, so now once again we're going to chain 2, and this is it. This is our pattern. We're going to turn our work and flip, and then continue doing 1 half double crochet in every stitch. So again, we're going into this stitch next to this chain 2, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So I did 14 rounds, meaning I went all the way around 14 times for the first pouch that I did. The next one I did 17. So I think anywhere between 14 to 17 is fine. And you just need to make sure that you get the length that you need. So you want this to fit comfortably inside and have some space for, it to be in there securely. I will show you how you can possibly close this up. So give whatever you're putting in there some room. Go ahead and crochet your rounds and measure whatever you're putting in there and make sure that it fits. And I'll show you how to seal up your project. So you can pause this video, go ahead and do your rounds, and make sure that you are chaining 2, you are turning, and you're flipping. Don't forget to do those 3 things: chain 2, turn, and flip. And I would keep your tension fairly loose for your stitches. Not loose, but neutral. You don't want it to be tight and you don't want it to be loose. That will give you the best looking pattern. It'll show off the stitches the best. And when you're doing your chain 2, try to tighten up your chain 2 a bit. You don't want to keep your chain 2 too loose, otherwise it'll create bumps in your pattern. So go ahead and finish up your rounds, and I will see you on the other side, and I will show you how to finish up this project. Hi, welcome back. So I have this other piece here that I'm going to show you how you're going to seal this up. This was the one I was crocheting with you guys. So when you get to this point where you have the length you want, whatever you're putting in there, you feel like it'll be nice and secure, it has enough room. So I gave like that much room, about like 3-4 rounds at least room for whatever I'm putting in there. So after you have slip stitched your first and your last stitch together on your last round, so pretend you're up here, you've done all of this. I'm just using this little piece as an example. You've put in your very last half double crochet of the project. You have your chain 2. You're going to insert again into that stitch between your post and your chain 2, yarn over and pull through. You're slip stitching them together. Now you're going to pull through this loop just like you're doing a chain, except you're going to tighten. And that gives you your knot. It'll give you a nice secure knot. And go ahead and pull that loop out as far as you think you need, enough to go all the way across this. We're going to use this to seam this shut. So give yourself a good amount. This is how much I gave myself on this. This is how long my piece is. It's a fairly long piece. So once you have as much as you think you need, you're going to come to the top of your loop and you're going to cut it at the very top. So right in the middle. So just like that, just go ahead and cut it. And then the part that's attached to your skein still, tug on that part. Make sure you're tugging on the part attached to your skein. See, this is coming from my skein. Just pull that out, and that gives you this tail. So now you have a knotted tail up here. Once you have that, you're going to take your yarn needle and thread your yarn through your yarn needle, just like you would thread a thread through it. Sometimes it can be a little tricky. And then where your knot is, where our seam is, that's going to become our side. It's going to be one side of our project. And go ahead and insert your needle into the back loop of these back stitches. Back loop is this loop here farthest away from you. And you're going to come through the front loop of the front stitches. So these are the front loops. These are the front loops of the front stitches. Front stitches meaning these stitches that are closest to you. So you're going through the back loop of the back stitches. Basically come through the middle of the stitch, and you're going to come through the middle of the stitch here. You want to get the front loop of these front stitches over your hook, and you're just going to pull through. And you're going to keep doing that all the way across. Come through to the next one, this back loop of the back stitches, the front loop of the front stitches, and pull through. And that's really it. You're just closing it off. It's fairly simple once you understand what you're doing. So keep going all the way across. Keep it nice and tight, but you don't want to pull too tight on it. Like I'm not pulling on it too hard. So these are my last couple stitches. This is my last one. So this is what it looks like. See, it's seamed shut. Now I can put whatever I want in there, and it's not going to come out. It's nice and secure. So now what do we do with this tail? We're going to weave in our tails into our project to make it look nice and neat. So you're going to take your needle, don't pull your needle out. The same way, just kind of weave your needle in between the stitches. So I'm just kind of going like, you know, weaving back and forth in between these posts, in between these stitches. And that will hide my tail. Don't pull on it too tight. You don't want to tighten this. You don't want to get it like scrunched up. So don't pull on your tail too tight. Just kind of get it through, get it going through. There. Do you see that? So I just kind of weaved it through, and then I'm just going to pull up, and once I have it through my project pretty securely and I have a good amount in there, you don't need too much. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to cut the tail off. If you just wiggle it a little, the tail will get hidden in there. There, so I just tugged on it and my tail is hidden in there. No tails, that's it, all nice and clean. And you're going to do the same thing with this top. So that's why we left some tail in the beginning. Go ahead and thread this tail into your needle. Sometimes it can get a little tricky. Okay. And then do the same thing we did, but don't go through the whole thing. You're just going to go into these stitches around. You can go down if you like. You can go to the side. You pull it down. Oops. Hide it anywhere into your stitches to get it nicely tucked away. So I'm just weaving into the stitches. to kind of go, thread through or weave through the stitches that are close together so you're not getting large gaps. Like you're not going to see your tail, in between these gaps in these stitches. So try to go through stitches that are close together. So once you get a good amount of it weaved in there, you can just go ahead and cut. Make sure not to cut your stitches. Wiggle on it a bit, and your tail is hidden in there. And you have a nice, neat project. So now the next step is totally optional. You don't need to do this, but it's just, if you'd like to, you can grab a ribbon, or you can even use this same yarn that we were working with, and you're going to create a kind of a string to close the top of your project. So what I'm doing is, the way that we threaded or weaved our needle through our stitches, we're going to do the same thing. So from one side to the other, go in between these stitches. So you're weaving in between the posts at the top here. Just skip one, go to the next. And then skip that and come through. So you'll get these posts. You'll see your ribbon through the posts, through the spaces in the posts. And just go all the way around. I just kind of used, some used ribbon that I had on hand for this. You can definitely go and get yourself some nice ribbon from the craft store, or like I said, you can just do this with the piece of yarn that you were crocheting with, whatever you like. And you're going to meet both ends on the one side. And you want to use a thinner ribbon for this. You don't want to use something that's too thick. I personally think a thinner ribbon looks nicer. I mean, that's actually totally up to you. Whatever look you're going for is totally fine. So you basically get the idea. I'm just going to skip a bunch of stitches here just to show you what I'm trying to aim for here. If you've ever done this before, you've probably picked up on where I'm going with this, or if you've ever had one of these pouches before. Okay, so once you have these two pieces of ribbon, you can just go ahead and pull, and you just closed up your pouch. And that's it. You can tie a knot if you want to keep whatever's in there nice and secure. And that's it. That is your pouch. So I'm going to stick my eyeglasses in here. I needed a new one. My last one was totally tattered. So I'm going to stick my eyeglasses in here, and I'm going to seal them in there. And I'm good to go. And if you would like, if you're putting glasses in there and you're afraid that they're going to get, damaged, they need some extra sort of protection, you can put some pieces of foam in there, or you can stick, some bubble wrap, or you can put some fabric in, whatever you like to just kind of protect your glasses or protect whatever delicate item you're putting in there. Those are just some options. I'm going to probably grab some foam or something and line the inside of this pouch, and if I do that, I'll show you guys how I did that. Stay tuned on my Instagram for pictures of that. I'll probably put it up in my stories or something. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I made sense. I know it was a long one. I hope you enjoyed making this project, and do tag me with Love Leisha Hooked on Instagram and show me your pictures. So I can share them. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time in my next project. Have a good one, and thanks for watching.